is not a problem. Hey everybody, today is June 10th. It's the second video that I made today, but this is going to be a little bit different. I wanted to, as part of my plan to help my mental difficulty, I looked into some different GCS surgeons today, and I have a listing now of I believe 32 different GCS surgeons in the United States, and I'm going to do a little more research on them and have that material available to anybody who wants it. Just information, where they are, what they do, stuff that's public domain. There's nothing, it's in more convenient form, but primarily with the question of your weight restriction, But I wanted to maybe elaborate a little more. And, I kind of started to write something on Facebook, and then it seemed like a video would be a better medium for it. But on Facebook, I think I started off by saying that, as a human being, I do stupid things to myself more often than I care to. And, I can hear my mom, many occasion, why did you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? And in regards to GCS, I mean, that's always been something. When I was 18, I told my mom, Mom, I'm transgender. I want to have, sexual reassignment surgery. I was like, oh, no, are you sure? Are you sure? And there was a lot of doubt. And over the years, like I said, that was back when I was 18. I'm 45 now. I still get it, in light of all the stuff I've been doing, transitioning and hormones and everything. I tend to keep my mom informed on what I'm doing. I'm sorry, I'm watching the bats outside. But anyway, so you kind of have that. Are you sure? But why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense, I think. But and this is not to say all surgeons, and I've only done like a deep dive research on 3. One of them is mine that I really want to use in Indianapolis, which is really, really cool. But, it's like I get the feeling, and this is going to be my interpretation, this is totally my opinion, but and I can only apply the research to GCS surgeons, but gender conforming surgery, sexual reassignment surgery, is practiced by so very few, right? Compared to most other things. I mean, I only know a few surgeons. One particular, a friend of mine I used to D&D with, Dr. Booty, we used to call him. But, the power that someone can wield, someone who does a surgery that's so specialized, gender conforming sexual reassignment surgery, in my case specifically a vaginoplasty. I mean, hey, that's a very, very skilled procedure. And some of the surgeons that I had seen on their website, it says, so Dr. So-and-so does 80 to 100 vaginoplasties a year, and very skilled and knowledgeable. Obviously you want someone to practice, right? You want their first time, So it's like they kind of have this, I think in our community, the trans community, like these demigod, statuses. You say Dr. Marcy Bowers, and it's like you hear lightning in the background. She's so great, she's so talented. Each one of these doctors are just experts in their field. Very precise, very focused, laser focused. And so, I think because the surgeries and whatnot are so rare compared to other surgeries, not rare like they don't happen, but in comparison to other, how many appendicitis does a surgeon do? How many, fixing a broken bone as opposed to turning a penis into a vagina? Again, I'm willing to bet that there's fewer than that. Anyway, but I think that these demigods, they're revered, and they should be, but they're kind of given a little bit of latitude because they get to pick and choose what they want. One surgeon research that I found today, one surgeon was like very on their website. This is all website. Doesn't require any sort of clearing of the surgical site, electrolysis or laser. Another surgeon, the surgeon that I'm going to, hopefully knock on wood, does require electrolysis, not laser, electrolysis. Surgical site needs to be clear. I mean, they each have their own picks, preferences, and I imagine their craft is constantly evolving. With every surgery they do, they get better and better and better. Practice makes perfect, right? But what I found beyond that is, two of the doctors, and probably very well meaning, and I don't mean to knock them for it, but two of the physicians of the three that I looked at today, in detail, kind of developed their own, like, this holistic wellness approach. I'm not just going to operate on you. I want to observe you, make sure you have access to care. I mean, I think that is the reason why. But let me give this example. One of the surgeons has kind of developed their own facility, and if you choose to, for a little extra money, for $95 a day, and I hope that doesn't tip anybody off on who it is, for $95 a day, you get to stay in their like converted home / office where they live. You get a room in their little living area, their practice where they live, and which is great. I mean, again, something goes wrong, you're in that's where the doctor lives, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that? But it's one of those things that the surgeon can, come in flying on a Sunday. This was another one, flying on a Sunday, do the surgery on a Monday. They're going to keep you in the hospital a week, and so you get released from the hospital. You get released from the hospital on a Saturday or Sunday, a week after your surgery, and then they recommend you stay in town, but you can't stay at the hospital. You stay somewhere else for a week. Well, there's a period of time between surgery and recovery at the hospital, and then there's this period of time, and then you meet the surgeon later, and that's when they pull out the drains and all the things they've installed, your sutures and whatever. It's that follow up, but also show you how to dilate, whatever. But it's like, thank goodness you have that care, but it's just this extra cost. Like, if you get your foot operated on, you have the surgery and you get released and you go home, and you go back in a week later, I guess, or so many weeks later, and to check up on the surgeon, but that's it. Whereas this, you're required to be kind of in this safe incubator while you heal, which again, it's part of the process, right? Thank goodness the care is there. But it's presented in this, like, you have the surgery, you're released from the hospital, you have to stay in town, and then you come back to the office and there's like part 2 of it, which again, you would have to do anyway. But it's like, but for $95 a day, you can stay in my home, or, stay in my facility. And I've heard that word, my recovery center. That is a key word I've seen a couple times. Stay in my recovery center. And, again, thank goodness, again, you want that attention. But at the same time, it's like, okay, so, 7 days at $95 a day is almost $670 just to stay there. And then you're talking about room and board, as in meals, and let's say you have someone with you to help you through the process or whatnot. So, this, I guess the more I dug into it, the more I felt like this is a huge thing, bigger than I thought it would be. And as much as I might complain about having to lose the weight, there's a huge advantage to living 2 hours away from your surgeon, if not closer. And that was the other thing I noticed about the surgeons that I saw. There were quite a few in California, a couple in New York, but they're really they're not diversely spread. They are kind of consolidated. There's 2 or 3 in Pennsylvania, for example. And where I live in Indiana or Kentucky, there's nobody in Kentucky. There's nobody in Tennessee. So again, if you had to book a plane, and I've heard this with Marcy Bowers, fly out there, and I don't want to single her out, but again, let's say I pick a surgeon in New York. I pack up my stuff and I go and I stay in New York. I have to get a hotel room for my caregiver. It's just like this whole other dimension to it that makes you go, oh my God, my gosh. It's a $25,000 surgery, and I got this quote from a doctor on their website. It's $25,000 just for the surgery. And then if you were to do this thing like at a recovery facility or whatnot, add an extra $700 onto it. And then add on to that your meals. It's not included, right? I mean, it's like a hotel room. You got to add on that your meals. I mean, this becomes a $40,000 investment that, insurance is going to help you with some of it, but not all. And I guess it disheartens me because I don't have $40,000 in my pocket. I'm willing to bet you don't have $40,000 in your pocket. And here we go through all of this forms and evaluations and recommendations and real life tests and hormones and all that, and all the stuff we have to do to get to this point. And it's like this next step is so far out there, and so, and again, here's where my mom's, well, why did you do that? That doesn't make any sense. In my case, my health insurance is going to change between now and then. I have no clue. I was hoping to do it in January because my health insurance is going to reset twice. They're changing their calendar year. So, there's no guarantee, especially in our political climate, the way things are right now, where they're dismantling affordability care stuff. There's no guarantee that insurance will pay for anything again. And so, again, it's like it adds a level of sadness to this process. And I feel that's where my mom's going, why did you do this? Why do you make yourself sad? Why do you, and it's one of those things I'm like, well, I don't know how not to investigate it or how not to. And part of looking at my options to make sure I can do what I need to do, I need to research. And again, but like I said, I just wanted to share it, and I'm not knocking any surgeon. There's no one surgeon is better than another as far as, I can't tell that. I'm only going by what's on their websites. And, it's just another level to this process. And I remember my mom said something else, and I'm trying to remember what set it off. She said something to me about, in a recent photo, how happy I looked. And she didn't realize how miserable I was, like up to that point, like until I went full time, until I transitioned. And I guess that's where her, observations of, why do you do this to yourself? Why do you have to do this? Can't you just be a cross-dresser, And, she's like, well, boy, you must have really been sad. And it's like, you want to scream because you're like, that's what I've been saying all my life, I was 18 when granted, we all, I knew in elementary school. I'm willing to bet some people could say that I can remember in preschool wanting to be a girl. But, again, it just, I can kick myself somewhat for saying, well, why did you make yourself feel sad? But on the other hand, I can say, well, but I'm finding the details that I need to so I can make plans so I'm not caught by surprise. And anyway, so I'm out of time, but I wanted to just record it because, again, I feel like I want to say, look, I'm human, I make mistakes, and by searching for my feelings, I don't feel like I made a mistake, but, there's part of me that's like, just go about your life and accept the fact that you may never have surgery, you know, or work your tail off and try and get surgery. You know, we obviously we don't know what the future holds. We just don't. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. You know, all we can do is try. You know, try and try and try, and I don't know how else not to try. You know, so. Anyway, but that's my video, and like I said, I just wanted to pass on. It seemed like a good thought, and you know, I imagine every trans woman and probably trans men, you could make it transgender in general, but everyone kind of, I think, comes to this crossroads at some point or another where they're like, you know, initially you're like, how in the hell am I going to do this? How am I going to pay for it? But then you start to digest it into smaller pieces and you say, okay, what can I do now? What can I do later? Am I saving up for this? You know, um, each of us has our own journey, and part of me was kind of caught up in the idea of being, you know, happier, thinking I was going to find a husband or something, and you know, this isn't going to help me find a husband. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it helps me live my life in a way that I want to, you know, becoming more authentic in a way. So we'll see. Anyway, just wanted to share, and good luck to you in your search, you know, to be continued, I'm sure.